Jaws 3 from 1983. This movie is really something. It's probably the Jaws movie that I've rewatched the least over the years, just because 1 and 2 are obviously much better movies. And Jaws 4 was just on TV a lot when I was a kid. I don't really know why, because it's a terrible fucking movie. But after watching Jaws 3 again recently, I don't think it's that much better than Jaws 4. It was part of that whole 3D craze of the early 80s. There was a bunch of them coming out. But probably the most famous ones are Jaws 3D, obviously, Amityville 3D, and Friday the 13th Part 3 3D, which, doesn't quite roll off the tongue as well as the other ones. But basically, if there was a third installment of a movie franchise coming out in the early 80s, there was a halfway decent chance it was going to be in 3D. And it looks like shit. So much of Jaws 3 is just exploiting the 3D gimmick, and it looks horrendous, especially now. But anyway, I guess that's enough of an intro. Let's just get to it. The movie opens up with a severed fish head surrounded by some blood. And it holds on this fish or eel or whatever the fuck it is forever, just so you can soak in all the 3D goodness. This is the kind of shit we're in for, just so you know. And the fish is still alive. Its mouth is moving. It's I can't believe it. I can't believe I just got eaten by a shark. Can you believe this shit? Can you fucking believe it? If it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. You know what I'm saying? And the movie takes place at the SeaWorld theme park in Florida. And they've just unveiled their brand new underwater tunnels, which will allow visitors to get a glimpse of all the sea life from underwater, basically turning the whole park into an aquarium. And we get introduced to Louis Gossett Jr., who plays Calvin Bouchard. And he's basically going to be the Richard Hammond of this theme park. There's a lot of Jurassic Park parallels in this movie, except for the quality. They don't have that in common at all. And we also meet Dennis Quaid, who is playing Mike Brody. And he has apparently done a lot of growing in the 8 years since 1975. And he's dating a woman named Kay, who is the senior marine biologist at the park. And they meet up with Mike's brother, Sean, who is visiting from out of town. And he's also done quite a bit of growing since we last saw him. And Sean immediately hits it off with Kelly, a water skier at SeaWorld. And she's played by Leah Thompson, a.k.a. Lorraine McFly. And Mike explains to Kay that Sean hates going in the water because of the shark attacks that happened when they were kids. Although, Mike seems totally unfazed by those events. He doesn't seem to care. And he also tells Kay that he got a call from Venezuela about some kind of job, and he's apparently going to Venezuela in about 18 months. It sounds like I'm leaving out important details, but I assure you, no further explanation is given. The movie has not explained what Mike's job is. He seems to be some kind of caretaker at the theme park. But that's all we know. It eventually does get explained, but for now, he's just a guy who has a vague job at SeaWorld, and he's about to go to Venezuela for another vague job. And this causes a potential rift between him and Kay because she might not be going with him, as if anyone gives a fuck. And while this riveting conversation is happening, a park employee named Shelby Overman gets eaten by the shark. And get used to hearing that fucking name, because they say it a lot. And this is what he looks like. He's not Magnum P.I. He's more like Durex P.I. You get it? That's a bit of a condom joke. I tried. What the hell do you want from me? They can't all be gems, And the movie holds on this 3D shot of his severed arm. This is fucking thrilling, isn't it? Terrifying. Suspense. And the next day, some English guy shows up, and he's like Julian Sands, but not quite. He's apparently some kind of hunter, and he wants to hunt and kill a great white shark on live TV. So it's awfully convenient that has shown up this early in the movie for this. It's almost like he knows what's going to happen. And Mike and Kay find out that Shelby Overman has gone missing. Oh no, not Shelby Overman. and they go out looking for his dead body. And they get attacked by a small great white shark. But they manage to escape by riding dolphins to safety. And keep an eye on those dolphins, because they're always saving the fucking day in this movie. And once they're safe, they discuss the problem with Calvin and not Julian Sands. And Kay wants to catch the shark and keep it in captivity at SeaWorld. And she sells Calvin on the idea. He's seeing dollar signs. Like I said, he's like Richard Hammond. And the great white shark is his T-Rex. And then we get some more 3D exploitation. They shoot some yellow tranquilizer fluid right at the camera. So it's a bit of a 3D golden shower for the audience in 1983. Oh, and we finally find out what Mike does. He's some kind of engineer who helped build the park. So almost an hour and change into this movie, we finally have that information. Fantastic. And Kay and not Julian Sands are going shark hunting at night. They're basically doing what Hooper tried to do in the first movie, but without the shark cage for protection. And it goes about as badly as you would expect, at least at first. But Kay does manage to stick the shark with the tranquilizer. So now they have a great white shark in captivity, just in time for opening day at SeaWorld. How exciting. And the park opens up, all the people file in to see the new shark, and it immediately goes tits up. Literally. The new shark has fainted. Tragic. Oh, it's actually dead. More tragic. And obviously this sets up the revenge angle for the much bigger shark that is clearly still out there. Triple tragic. I don't know why the sharks are so vengeful in these movies, but they are. Don't fuck with them, because they'll fuck right back. And Shelby Overbay, or whatever the fuck his name is, shows up dead, half-eaten. He scares the piss out of some SeaWorld patrons. So we get another shark that doesn't finish his meals. And you'd think that finding a dead body floating in the water would be enough to close the park for the day. But nope. They just fish him out and continue on business as usual. And after examining the body, Kay determines that it was a shark that did it, and it's approximately 35 feet in length, which, I know, is preposterous, but I didn't write the fucking movie. What do you want me to tell you? And this massive shark is the mother of the shark that died. And just as they are talking this over, the shark pokes his head in the window of the underwater museum and says hi, and they all tear ass out of there. They're freaking the fuck out. They try to tell the people to get off the beach because I guess SeaWorld has a fucking beach, apparently. And Mike goes driving off in a stolen golf cart that is filled with popcorn. I'm not making this up. It sounds like the ramblings of a madman. But this is actually happening. It's mass panic. And there's fucking popcorn everywhere. And Mike is trying to get people out of the water. He pushes some guy in the water. So he's failing pretty hard at being a hero. Some water skiers fall in the water while being chased by the shark, but they all get out safely because the shark has inexplicably changed direction, and he's headed towards Mike's brother, Sean, and Lorraine McFly, who are just sitting in a bumper car boat, somehow blissfully unaware of the mass panic taking place less than a football field away. And the shark attacks them, and it bites Lorraine McFly. But they manage to make it out of the water somehow, and her wound doesn't seem that bad. I mean, she's still got all her limbs. She's bleeding, but it's not gushing blood. I guess this shark that apparently has the bite radius of a fucking megalodon somehow only managed to get the fleshy part of the thigh. Anyway, Sean goes with her to the hospital, and neither of them are heard from again. They're gone from the movie. And there's still some people in the underwater tunnels, and Calvin gets on the loudspeaker and tells them to evacuate. And some guy starts flipping out a little bit.
For those of y'all who are still in the underwater portion of this park, please follow your guides, and they will point out the most convenient and accessible exits.
Oh, nearest successful exit? We're underwater.
All right, take it easy there, Archie Bunker. You're in a fucking tunnel. Pretty sure you just keep walking and it will lead to an exit at some point. The guy's a panicky Pete. And he also seems surprised that he's underwater. Like, we're underwater. Like, you knew you were underwater, you fuckhead. That's part of the tour. And as everyone is making their way to the exit, they see the shark. And they immediately start panicking.
Hey, Daddy, look at the fish!
Holy shit!
I don't know why they're all freaking out. I mean, yeah, it's a big shark, but didn't you think you were safe under the water in those tunnels? I mean, that's the point, to see marine life, right? So they're seeing it. Why are they all running? They don't know about the shark attacks that have been happening. But I guess it's a good thing they did run, because the shark breaches the tunnels easily, and they start flooding. And everyone ends up in a sealed compartment, somehow safe for the time being, but trapped because the power is out and the doors can't open. And one guy is wearing this t-shirt. It says, "Let a gargoyle sit on your face." I gotta tell you, I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what that means. I'm scared. This is the scariest thing in the movie, by far. But you know what? Maybe it's not bad advice. I'd let a gargoyle sit on my face. Why not? I've always had a bit of a dark side. Let's go for it. Fuck it. Anyway, back to this fucking movie, I guess. Mike takes a bit of a break from all the commotion, and he drinks a bunch of cans of Coca-Cola, and he comes up with a plan to restore power to the tunnels so they can get the people out. How wonderful. And Kay professes her love for Mike in a scene that no one could possibly care about. And then not Julian Sands and his assistant. Yes, he has an assistant in this movie, and they're very close. They're like two peas in a pod, these two. They put on some wetsuits, and they try to lure the shark into a trap. And it works. It very slowly follows not Julian Sands, I think, into the pipe. And he's apparently stuck. But then it just kind of randomly eats not Julian Sands, I think. It's really hard to tell because his fucking butler is also down there, and it's hard to tell who's who. Especially since I'm not really paying that close attention. And I watched it on Tubi, which is great, but it streams in what looks like 480p quality. The ads look 1080p though, so that's nice. And Mike and Kay also put on some wetsuits to try to get the sealed door open to get the people out. I guess they have to restore power from underwater, which of course makes perfect sense. Or I'm not paying close enough attention. That's certainly possible with a movie like this. And it turns out that not Julian Sands was the one that got eaten by the shark. And when his assistant finds out that he hasn't resurfaced, he flips the fuck out like you wouldn't believe. I mean, was not Julian Sands his employer or his lover? Because this is the reaction of a man who has lost a romantic partner. Tragic. Anyway, the shark attacks Mike and Kay, but the dolphins show up, again, to distract the shark long enough for them to get away. And they make it back to the control room, where Calvin is, and just when they think they're safe, this happens. 3D shark attack. It's so terrifying. Let's look at this again. I think it's worth taking another look at this shit. I mean, do you think people were screaming in the audience when this was happening? 3D. A cardboard cutout of a shark is coming at the screen agonizingly slow.
Knock, knock.
I bet audiences thought they had shards of glass in their hair after watching that shit. Must have been terrifying. Anyway, now they're underwater again, and the shark is coming for them, very slowly. And Mike sees that not Julian Sands' dead body is stuck inside the mouth of the shark, and he's holding a grenade. So you know what this means, right? This means that not Julian Sands is playing the same role as the oxygen tank in the first movie. It's the same fucking thing. And Mike manages to fashion a makeshift grabber claw that lazy people like to use, and he pulls the pin out of the grenade. And then this happens. I mean, look at that. What a great effect. And what the fuck? Oh, it's the jaws. And it holds on these jaws for a excruciatingly long period of time, just so you can see that it's in 3D. And I know that some people might want to be forgiving of the special effects because it was 1983. But I say, fuck that. Return of the Jedi came out in 1983. This is atrocious. There's no other way to describe it. Anyway, Mike and Kay surface, and Kay is concerned about Calvin, but Mike tells her that he made it, even though he has absolutely no way of knowing that. But okay. And one of the dolphins shows up again, and they're concerned because they can't seem to find the other one. And the tension builds. And then finally, it leaps out of the water, triumphantly. As if any of us give a fuck that anyone, dolphins or otherwise, survived this fucking movie. And they hold on one more awful 3D dolphin shot before the credits roll. The end. What a movie. What a piece of shit. I mean, I gotta be honest. I struggled to find things to talk about for the first hour and change of this movie. Nothing happens. Nothing of interest happens. I mean, some people get eaten, but it's not very visually interesting. And there's a lot of mundane shit. Dennis Quaid holds a dog's ears while he eats. I guess that's something. It's just a mess. And Steven Spielberg is capable of making everyday, average things seem interesting. But the director of this movie is not capable of that, obviously. His name is Joe Alves, who's a famous production designer. He's worked on a lot of Steven Spielberg movies, but this is the only thing he's ever directed. And you can see why. It's just not his thing. But at least things start to happen in the last 45 minutes. And by things, I mean ridiculously hilarious shit. And it's entertaining at the very least. And I gotta be honest, I think Kay is the villain of this movie because she is the one that wanted to, hold a shark in captivity. And that's the catalyst for everything that happens afterwards. The shark takes revenge because sharks have the mental and emotional capacity to avenge loved ones in the world of Jaws. We just have to accept that. Because 2, 3, and 4 are all about that. It's pretty fucking hilarious. And the 3D gimmick is still just as shitty today as it was back then, in my opinion anyway. I think every movie that did it kind of resurfaced with Avatar, and it had a 5-year run where every fucking movie was in 3D. And in my opinion, it was garbage. It was just a stupid gimmick that doesn't make any movie better. It's not fun to watch. It's just, it's garbage. And, I've also got to wonder why SeaWorld was okay with this movie. Like, why did they sign off on a movie about a giant shark that kills people in their theme park? Why were they okay with that? That's just so fucking wild. You would not see that today. I mean, that's just insane. It was the 80s. What else can you say? That's the only acceptable answer. It's the fucking 80s. Anyway, I'm clearly running out of steam, so I'm going to wrap this up. But before I go, just remember, if you find yourself underwater and a giant paper mache shark is coming at you, don't panic. Because odds are, there's probably a British guy stuck in his teeth, like a piece of broccoli, and he's probably got a grenade in his hand. So just pull the pin, and boom, happy ending. Anyway, until next time, take it easy.
You talking about some damn shark's mother?